If people judged you by your worst flaw, would they still see your true worth? Or would they miss the very thing that makes you special? Stay with me, because this short story carries a lesson that could completely change the way you see yourself and the way you see others. And I promise, by the end of this, you may never look at your own imperfections the same way again. There was once a hardworking farmer who lived in a quiet little village. His life was not filled with luxury, but it was filled with discipline, purpose, and peace. Every single morning, before the sun had fully risen, he would wake up, step outside into the cool air, and begin the same long walk toward a faraway well to collect water for his home. To carry the water back, he used a wooden pole that rested across his shoulders. Hanging from each side of that pole was a clay pot. One of those pots was beautiful and perfect in every possible way. Its shape was smooth, balanced, and flawless. It held every drop of water without ever wasting a single one. The other pot, however, had a small crack running down one side. It was not large enough to break the pot completely, but it was enough to let water slowly drip out along the journey back home. And because of that, by the time the farmer reached his house, the cracked pot always returned only half full. Now the perfect pot was very proud of itself. In its own mind, it was superior. It believed it had real value because it could perform its duty without failure. It looked at the cracked pot with quiet disrespect, almost as if it were embarrassed to even hang beside it. One morning, as they swayed gently from the farmer's shoulders along the dusty path, the perfect pot finally spoke. It said in a cold, mocking tone, "Look at you. Every single day, you lose half your water before we even get home. You can't even do the one job you were made to do. Honestly, why does the farmer still carry you at all? You're just extra weight, nothing more." The cracked pot said nothing. But silence does not mean something doesn't hurt. Those words sank deep into its heart. And the worst part was, it didn't happen only once. Day after day, trip after trip, the perfect pot repeated the same insults. It made the cracked pot feel smaller and smaller each morning. At first, the cracked pot tried to ignore it. Then it tried to endure it. But over time, something painful began to happen. It started to believe it. It began to see itself not as damaged, but as worthless. And maybe you know what that feels like. Maybe you've been told you're not enough. Maybe someone made you feel weak because of something you couldn't change. Maybe, little by little, you started seeing yourself through the eyes of criticism instead of truth. If that's you, then stay with me, because this next part matters more than you think. One morning, while the farmer was making his usual walk back from the well, the cracked pot could no longer hold in its pain. As the sun rose higher and the road stretched on ahead of them, small drops began falling from its side. But this time, they were not only drops of leaking water, they were tears. And finally, in a soft, trembling voice, the cracked pot spoke to the farmer. "Master," it whispered, "please forgive me. The farmer stopped walking. He gently lowered the wooden pole from his shoulders and looked at the pot with kind, patient eyes. "Forgive you?" he asked softly. "For what, my friend?" The cracked pot's voice shook with sadness. "For failing you. Every single day you wake up early. Every single day you walk all the way to the well. Every single day you carry us home with such effort. And because of my crack, half the water is gone before we even arrive. I cannot do what I was made to do. I waste your work. I waste your strength. I waste your time. I am broken, and I am ashamed." The farmer listened carefully. He didn't interrupt. He didn't rush. He didn't correct. He simply let the pot empty its heart. Then after a moment, the farmer smiled. Not a smile of pity, a smile of understanding. And he said, "So that is what has been weighing on you all this time." The cracked pot remained quiet. Then the farmer continued in a calm, warm voice. "My dear friend, tomorrow I want you to pay close attention on the way back from the well. Look carefully at the side of the road. Just observe. And after that, I believe you will never think of yourself the same way again." The cracked pot didn't fully understand what he meant, but there was something peaceful in the farmer's tone, something comforting, something that made it feel, for the first time in a long while, that maybe, just maybe, there was more to the story than it had believed. The next morning came. The farmer rose before sunrise once again and made the familiar walk to the well. He filled both pots as usual, balanced them on the wooden pole, and began the journey back home. The air was cool. The sky was soft with early light. Birds were singing from the trees. And as they walked along the narrow dirt path, the farmer gently said, "Now, look down." Both pots looked toward the ground beside the road, and in that moment, the cracked pot was stunned. Lining one side of the path were rows and rows of beautiful flowers. Bright petals opened toward the morning light. Drops of dew sparkled on them like tiny diamonds. Some were red, some yellow, some purple, some white. They swayed gently in the breeze, filling the road with color and life. The cracked pot stared in amazement. It had walked this path every day, but somehow it had never truly seen it. "How beautiful," it whispered. For the first time in many days, it forgot its shame. It forgot its sadness. It simply admired the beauty beside it. But then, something else became clear. Those flowers were only growing on one side of the path. On the other side, the side of the perfect pot, there was only dry soil, dust, and scattered stones. The perfect pot noticed it too, and though it said nothing, something shifted inside it. By the time they reached home, the farmer carefully set both pots down. The cracked pot looked at itself again and noticed, just as always, that much of its water was gone. Its brief moment of joy faded, and in a quiet voice it said, "Master, even after seeing those flowers, I still failed. I still came home half empty." The farmer sat down beside it. Then he looked at both pots and asked gently, "Tell me something. Where did you see the flowers growing? The cracked pot answered, On my side of the road. Exactly, said the farmer. And do you know why they were only on your side? The cracked pot was silent. The perfect pot was silent too. Then the farmer said words that changed everything. I have always known about your crack. The farmer looked at the cracked pot with warmth in his eyes and said, I have always known about your crack. I noticed it long ago, and because I understood it, I did something very intentional. The cracked pot listened carefully. The perfect pot did too. Then the farmer continued, Months ago, I planted flower seeds along your side of the path. For a moment, the cracked pot could not even process what it had just heard. The farmer smiled and said, Every single morning, when I filled you with water and carried you home, I knew some of that water would slowly fall to the ground. Drop by drop, day after day, your so-called weakness watered those seeds. What you believed was waste was actually life. What you thought was failure was quietly creating beauty. The cracked pot felt something rise inside it, something it had not felt in a very long time. Hope. The farmer went on. Because of you, that dry road became a place of color. Because of you, flowers now bloom where there was once only dust. Travelers who pass by stop and admire them. Children smile when they see them. Birds rest near them. Even I, on my long walks to and from the well, feel joy in my heart because of them. And all of that happened because of the water you thought you were losing. The cracked pot began to tremble. Not with shame this time, but with emotion. Tears rolled down its side again, but now they were no longer tears of pain. They were tears of relief, tears of gratitude, tears of a heart finally realizing that being imperfect did not mean being without value. For the first time, it no longer saw itself as damaged. It saw itself as meaningful. But just when the moment felt complete, another voice quietly broke the silence. It was the perfect pot. Only this time, there was no arrogance in its tone, no pride, no mockery, only regret. Master, it said softly, I need to say something. The farmer turned toward it with the same kindness he had shown the cracked pot. Speak, he said gently. The perfect pot paused, as if struggling to find the right words. Then it finally said, I am ashamed of myself. The cracked pot looked toward it in surprise. The perfect pot continued. All this time, I thought I was better. I thought my worth came from being flawless. I looked down on my friend because it leaked water. I judged what I did not understand. I mocked what I should have respected. I was so focused on what looked like weakness that I completely failed to see the beauty it was creating. Its voice grew even softer. I called you useless, it said to the cracked pot. I made you feel small. I made you feel broken in the worst way. And now I see that while I was busy being proud of myself, you were doing something beautiful that I could never do. I am truly sorry. If you can, please forgive me. For a moment, the cracked pot said nothing. Then, with a gentle and peaceful heart, it replied, "I forgive you." And that simple response carried more strength than any insult ever could. Because forgiveness does not come from weakness, it comes from healing. The farmer smiled as he looked at both of them. He could see that something much deeper than words had changed between them. Then he placed a hand on each pot and spoke with quiet wisdom. My dear friends, listen carefully, because this is a truth many people spend their whole lives trying to understand. He paused for a moment and continued. Nobody in this world is perfect. Not one person. Every human being has strengths. Every human being has weaknesses. Every person carries gifts, and every person carries flaws. That is not a mistake. That is life. Then he looked at the perfect pot. You, he said, are excellent at holding water and bringing it safely home. That is your gift. Because of you, my family has water to drink and use each day. Your reliability matters. Your strength matters. Your role is important. Then he turned to the cracked pot. And you, my friend, have a different kind of gift. Because of your crack, flowers bloom along my path. Because of your weakness, something beautiful is born where there would have been nothing. You create joy in places that would otherwise remain empty. Your role is also important. Then the farmer said something neither of them would ever forget. Both of you are valuable. Both of you are needed. And both of you are perfect in your own way. The two pots listened in silence. The farmer continued. If both of you were perfect pots, I would have plenty of water at home, but no flowers on the road. If both of you were cracked pots, I would have flowers everywhere, but not enough water for my family. I need both of you. One brings water to my house, the other brings beauty to my journey. One serves necessity, the other serves joy, and life needs both. The cracked pot felt its heart fill with peace. The perfect pot felt its pride fall away. And in that moment, they both understood something that many people never learn. Comparison is foolish when your purpose is different. From that day on, everything changed. The perfect pot still carried its water with care, but now it did so with humility instead of pride. It no longer looked down on the cracked pot. It no longer believed that usefulness could only be measured by perfection. And the cracked pot still leaked water on the way home. But now every drop felt different. Every drop felt meaningful. It no longer saw its crack as a reason for shame. It saw it as part of the quiet beauty it had been placed in the world to create. They still traveled the same road every day, but now they traveled it as friends. Not as rivals, not as judge and victim, but as two beings who finally understood that value does not always look the same. One brought water to the home, the other brought life to the path. Both were needed, both were loved, and both, in their own way, were enough. And if we are honest, most of us are a lot like those two pots. Sometimes we are like the perfect pot. We become proud of our strengths. We compare ourselves to others. We assume that because someone struggles in an area where we succeed, they must somehow be less valuable. We judge people by what they lack instead of trying to understand what they carry. And sometimes, we are like the cracked pot. We look at our own flaws and quietly feel ashamed. We think our weaknesses disqualify us. We believe that because we are not perfect, we are not worthy. We carry invisible pain while smiling on the outside. We apologize for parts of ourselves that may actually hold hidden purpose. But the truth is this: we are all a little bit of both. We all have strengths we should be grateful for. And we all have weaknesses we should stop hating ourselves for. Because sometimes, the very thing you wish you could remove from your life is the very thing God is using to create something meaningful through you. Sometimes the part of you that feels not enough is actually the part that teaches compassion. Sometimes the pain you survived becomes the reason someone else heals. Sometimes the flaw you try so hard to hide becomes the place where your greatest gift begins. And that is why you should never be too quick to judge someone. You have no idea what beauty may be growing from the cracks they carry. And you should also never be too quick to judge yourself. Because just because your life doesn't look perfect, doesn't mean it lacks purpose. Please remember these two truths and carry them with you. First, never judge people only by their weaknesses. There may be something beautiful in them that you simply haven't seen yet. Second, do not be ashamed of every crack in your life. Some of those cracks may be the exact places where light, growth, and purpose are flowing through. Now I want to hear from you. Have you ever felt like the cracked pot, misunderstood, insecure, or judged because of something about yourself? Or maybe, if you're being honest, have you ever been like the perfect pot? Too quick to assume, too quick to compare, too quick to judge. Drop your answer in the comments because your story might help someone else feel seen today. And if this message touched your heart even a little, do two things for me right now. First, share this video with someone who may be silently struggling with their own cracks. You never know who needs this reminder today. And second, make sure you subscribe, because this channel is here to bring you stories that don't just entertain you. They stay with you. Stories that shift your mindset, strengthen your heart, and remind you of truths we all need to hear. Thank you for spending these moments with me. Until next time, be kind to others, be gentle with yourself, and never forget this: some of the most beautiful flowers in life grow from the places we once thought were broken. Stay humble, stay grateful, and keep walking your path, cracks and all.